Good afternoon, guys. Today you are going to be taking a look at lesson 3.2, which is graphing linear equations. When you're taking notes on video, it's expected that you would take the notes the same as if you were in class. You write down the examples, the definitions, everything else as if I was present in the front of the classroom. So let's begin. What I'm going to do for you guys is that we're going to take a look at these following equations right here, listed A through F. So you can just sit back and watch as I pull each one up. The first equation that we have is y equals 2x minus 1. Again, just look at the basic shape of it as we go on and look at the other ones. This is the second equation, y equals 2x squared plus 4. Notice that's a different shape than the other one. Then we have y equals 4. Again, notice the shape and the direction. This is the equation y equals 1 over x. And this is y equals 3 to the x power. And this right here is the equation y equals the square root of x. Now, let's look at this list again. One thing that I want you to notice is that in B, it had a curve. In D, it had a curve. In E, it also had a curve, as did F. But more specifically, C and A, those are what were called linear lines. And that should be straight. And that's really the heart of what we're going to be talking about in this chapter, are linear lines. A linear line is something that is straight, that has a consistent slope. One thing you'll notice, or I want you to take note of, is that with this, there's no exponents. The variables are in the numerators, unlike you see with E or in D. And even though it doesn't look like it, this is actually an exponent. It's x to the 1/2. So the exponents on these are 1, and that's what makes it linear. It's consistent. There are going to be 3 different forms of writing the equation, and you'll be responsible for knowing each one of those 3. The first one that we're going to be talking about is the standard form of a linear equation. And the format for that is ax plus by equals c. Again, notice that x and y are on one side and the constants are on the other. A, b, and c are real numbers, and a and b are not zeros. Another thing to notice about this is that with standard forms, we want a and b to be integers. That means a, b, and c, sorry, all 3 to be integers. No decimals, no fractions. And what we're going to do is we're going to start graphing. And there's many ways we can graph. And one of those ways is to make a T-chart. And we kind of started this a little bit yesterday. So what you want to do is you make an X and a Y chart. And we talked about how there are points on the coordinate plane and they have an X and Y value. So what happens is, and we're going to start with number 2 for this one, is I can really just put any values I want in for X. I'm going to make mine a little bit spaced apart. I'm going to get a handful of them to make sure that I get a good consistency with my line and I didn't make any mistakes. And then what we're going to do is do what we did yesterday. I know that the value for X is -4 to start out with. So I'll replace X with -4. And then what I'm going to try to do is solve for Y. That's going to be then 3y equals 10. And then y equals 3 1/3. And what we now have is a coordinate point. We have the coordinate point -4 and 3 1/3. I'm going to do that with each of the other ones. I'm going to replace -2 in for x. I'm going to solve for y. 3y now equals 8. Y equals 2 2/3. Now the numbers I didn't pick, you can kind of see here, they're not working out perfectly to give me integers, so you can always kind of think about what numbers will make integers, and we'll talk about that tomorrow when I come in. If I put in 0 plus 3y, I know I'm just going to divide by 3. That one worked out nicely, so y equals 2, so that's 0, 2. And again, I'm just going to finish up this teacher. I put in 2. I'm going to solve for y. I'm going to get 3y equals 4. Y equals 1 1/3. So the coordinate point is 2, 1 1/3. And I'm finally going to put in 4. So my last coordinate point is 4 2/3. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to plot each of these on the graph. -4 and 3 1/3. It's going to be about there. I'm going to take -2 and 2 2/3 and put that here. And then I'm going to have 0, 2. And then 2 and 1 1/3. And then finally 4 2/3. And what I would ask you to do is to take out your ID card or a ruler, and what you are going to do is just connect those. And that creates a line. Now, it should be linear. All the points should line up. Now, because the numbers that we chose for x ended up giving us y's that were mixed numbers, it's going to be a little off. But you can see that it still falls within the line when we connect them. So we're going to do the same thing basically for number 3 now. I am going to make a t-chart with x and y. I'll go ahead and make the similar numbers. And I'm going to replace them. But this time, I'm replacing them with a coefficient in front. So -2, and again, I'm replacing the x right here. And I'm solving for y. I'm going to do this on the side over here. So -2 times -4 is 8, plus 4y equals 8. 4y equals 0 if I subtract 8 on both sides. And so y equals 0. So the coordinate point for this one is -4, 0. And I would do that for every single one. So -2 times -2, I'm inputting -2 now, plus 4y equals 8. That's going to be 4 plus 4y equals 8. 4y equals 4. Y equals 1. So I have 1, and therefore the coordinate point will be -2, 0. Now it's time to put in 0. -2 times 0 plus 4y equals 8. 4y equals 8. Y equals 2. So 0, 2. And I want to keep going. I'm going to put in 2. So it's going to be -2 times 2 plus 4 times y equals 8. So -4 plus 4y equals 8. 4y equals 12. Y equals 3. Put in 3 right there. And the coordinate point is 2, 3. And lastly, when I put in 4, I'm going to get 4 as the output, and I get 4, 4. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take each one of my coordinate points, and I will put them on the graph. So the first one is negative 4, 0. Let me put that down right there. The next one is negative, oops, I'm sorry, I miswrote that. The next one should be negative 2, 1. Let's put that down. The next one is 0, 0, 2. And you can see I misplaced that, sorry. So negative 2, positive 1, and then 0, 2. The next one that I have will be 2, 3, and finally 4, 4. And you'll notice once you take your ID card, it's going to connect, go through those points. And again, the idea is that your points will line up. If I ended up accidentally getting a point down here, that should tell you that you did some arithmetic wrong and you should go back and fix it. I would like you to pause the video, and I would like you to make T-charts for number 4 and number 5. When you're finished, resume the video and to check your answers. All right, the first T-chart or graph that you were supposed to use was y equals 2x. This is what your graph should look like. Some points that I have on my graph, you can see right here. I have the point 3, 6. I have the point 2, 4. I have the point 1, 2. And obviously yours could be different than what mine. And then I have the origin 0, 0. Negative 1, negative 2, negative 2, negative 4. And again, your points don't have to be the same, but they should go through the origin. Your line, it should be in the same place. The next equation we have is y equals 2x plus 3. You can see the way the line looks right here. Well, some of my points you can see are 2, 7, 1, 5, 0, 3, negative 1, 1, negative 2, negative 1, and so on. So those are some of my points. Yours don't have to be the same, but it should be the same line. And the last question we're going to talk about is x equals 3. So if I try to make a T-chart for x equals 3, it's telling me x equals 3. Okay, there's no room for that. But you'll notice if I plug in x for 3, it equals 3. There's no y to solve. And basically what that means is y can be any number I want it to be. If I make y 5, again, x has to be 3. If y was negative 12, x is still 3. If y is 0, x is still 3. So if I go to plot that, 3, 5, negative 12, 3, 0, you'll notice they're right on top of each other. And this, oops, if my line was straight, creates a vertical line. And that's something you'll have to remember. If x equals a number, this means it will be a vertical line, meaning a line that goes up and down. Now think about if it was just y equals, let's say 5. Think about what direction that would be. It's saying that all your y values are 5. So if you think about that graph, it would be a horizontal line. So y equals a number is horizontal. All right, if you need a review, go back and rewind the video to the parts that you need to look back over. Otherwise, you can start on Math Excel 3.2.